เ Hey folks, give us a minute. We're waiting on a couple guests, but I wanted to go live because it's 6 o'clock and say hi to all you lovely, lovely viewers out there. We have a show for you today. It will be fun. 𝙎𝙪 and 𝙇𝙚𝙗 are on their way, hopefully soon, and we'll get it going. We had a third to debate, but they unfortunately dropped out a little last minute. So we're gonna just, make do with what we can. It'll be a fun, interesting conversation. Trust me, gang, you're gonna want to tune into this one. It will be great. But how are you doing, Karantos? How's life on your end of the screen?
Listen, I'm doing great. I'm doing brilliant. In fact, I was incredibly elated once you reached out to me to go one-on-one with Destiny, because I've seen those tweets. I've seen the shit that he said, and I felt some type of way about it. So to be given an opportunity to set him straight, that's really appreciated. I'll tell you what, because I really got a lot on my mind. I got a lot to say to that nigga.
Well, we'll find out when it gets here. Okay. It will be in a discussion, and it won't be a one-on-one. 𝙎𝙪 will be here. And 𝙎𝙪's a good guy too. He's the one that originally pitched the idea to me, and I thought it was a good one. So here we are. Let me see if
they gotta show up first. Listen, the black man showed up on time. Okay, we're breaking stereotypes here, just like we're going to be breaking some of those Islamophobic stereotypes that Destiny put forth. You know what I mean? We're on time. We're on time.
We'll find out. But yeah, no. It's one of those things. There were a lot of people I reached out to. Some bigger, some smaller. The most common response I got from those who did respond was that they wanted to go one-on-one with Destiny, but that just wasn't the format that I wanted to do, right? That wasn't the kind of show I wanted to put on. So the other problem I had was finding people who would stay within TOS. There were a lot of people who were like, yeah, I want to tell the Destiny a lot of things, but then I grilled them on it, and it turned out that the things they wanted to tell him were probably inappropriate for YouTube's terms of service. So I decided best not have them on. But I do appreciate you being willing to come, and yeah, should be fun.
I got you, my man.
Should be fun. Did 𝙬𝙬 fall asleep? He's in the UAE right now. So the time difference is large. Let me DM him once again. Hello, we're still waiting on a couple guests, so give me a second. I'm going to DM them, see where they're at. But hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'll be better once my guests show up, but
cool.
Good that you're here. But yeah, it should be an interesting discussion nonetheless once they get here. 𝙬𝙬, who we're waiting on, was the one that originally reached out to me and had some problems with some of the things that you've been saying about Islam and about Muslims in general, and he wanted a chance to talk to you about this. 𝙬𝙬 also has a few issues. We'll get into it as we go. And yeah, we'll just see how this goes. But let's give 𝙬𝙬 another minute or two. And if he doesn't show, he doesn't show. And we'll just make hay while the sun shines. So
make hay with the sun shines? Wait,
while
what?
the sun shines. It's probably not the best allegory, right? Probably
make hay while the sun shines.
Yes.
Wait, somebody's saying this top right guy is schizophrenic. Is that true?
Are you schizophrenic?
Absolutely. We're gonna have fun today.
Okay.
But yeah, so hopefully, I had a little bit of a problem finding guests for this panel because most of the people that I interviewed to come on were not. They were toss risk. Let's just say the things that they told me that they wanted to tell you.
Interesting.
It wasn't.
Or they thought of him as the fucking boogeyman.
Yeah, a few didn't want to talk to you at all, and a few would only talk to you in a one-on-one setting.
I mean, I can always talk one-on-one, or like even without a moderator. Oh, I don't care. Whoever wants to talk for whatever.
Yes. So it is what it is. Oh no, I had just promised a certain format to 𝙬𝙬 and 𝙬𝙬, who apparently didn't show. And so I was. They wanted me to make it a one-on-one, and I said, nah, I'm not gonna do that to poor 𝙬𝙬 here. 𝙬𝙬's not gonna kick you off, 𝙬𝙬, just because someone wants me to. So 𝙬𝙬 will be good. I think he will be an interesting interlocutor, even if 𝙬𝙬 doesn't show up, and I am very disappointed that he is not here. But we will go on, and we will do what we can. So here we are. Let's start the show, gang. If he gets here, he gets here. Okay, welcome to another episode of WhickTV, a cross-ideological space where we discuss topics political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Tonight we're going to be discussing Islam, Islamophobia, and some of Destiny's takes regarding the Muslim community. My guest here, 𝙬𝙬, has had some issues with how Destiny has interacted and has asked me to set up a face-to-face discussion, which I have, and Destiny has graciously accepted. So without further ado, let's just get into it. 𝙬𝙬, what are some of your problems here? Why were you so excited to be here tonight?
Listen, I seen the fucking vile shit that he put on Twitter. And me and my brothers were talking about all sorts of shit when you reached out to me and you said, hey, I gotta sit down with the man himself. And I was ready to jump on the opportunity. I'll keep it quick and concise, right? First of all, Destiny, also known as Stephen Kenneth Bonnell II, also known as Lil Steve, also known as Cuxton, he goes by many names. I see on Twitter, he posts Bob the Minecraft dude, right? Mining the Kaaba. Now,
hold on. That was Steve the Minecraft dude, to be clear.
Steve. Okay, Steve the Minecraft guy, right? I seen him mine the Kaaba. And I'm not going to lie to you. I chuckled about how fucking insane that shit was, right? Because it didn't make sense. It was completely unprovoked. And of course, some Muslims responded to him. And due to their response, he proceeded to go on a multi-day Islamophobic tirade against our prophet and our faith. And I looked at it. I was like, okay, so why the fuck is he doing this? Did he debate a Muslim recently about Islam? Were certain Muslims coming at him? No, it was completely unprovoked. And then he decided to play victim. He said, look at all of these Muslims. Look at these rabid, insane, mean Muslims bullying me in my DMs. Oh my God, Elon, do something about these guys. They're being mean to me. This is ridiculous. Elon, you're not running your platform correctly. Of course, he's not fucking running his platform correctly if you're still on fucking Twitter while you're ban evading. So you should fucking be grateful to the man that he's ass at his job, right? And then he decided to keep playing this victim, although I distinctly remember this man himself ridiculing the alleged rape victim of what's his name, Rich Campbell, the ex co-owner of OTK, and he repeatedly kept calling her a retard because she didn't take accountability. She allowed a man that kept wanting to sleep with her up to her apartment, fully knowing that the guy is a full degenerate, and he kept pushing the idea of accountability. Like the man is borderline a fucking victim blamer as it gets, right? Yeah, he refuses to take accountability for the function that he does.
You said you were going to be concise.
I'll conclude it, right? But he's not taking accountability. He's not taking accountability whatsoever because the man understood the risks that he was taking mocking Islam, because he makes fun of his cuck brother in arms, Nico, for the fact that he doesn't speak ill of Islam after Muslims gave him a hard time for mocking the prayer, right? So he knew what he was doing. He fully knew what he was doing. And the fact is, he just wanted to posture. He just wanted to look tough for his fucking retarded Discord dwelling, Reddit moderating, insane fan base, right? He just wanted to look tough for them. And in fact, he has boldened quite a few liberals and quite a few people on the left to start disrespecting Islam. Because ever since he started speaking crazy, I've seen plenty of Muslims get disrespected and our prophet be disrespected because they've been emboldened by Destiny. And to conclude, I'll just tell him, listen, you poke at the hornet's nest, just be prepared to get stung. It's that simple.
Do you have a response to that? Have you emboldened Islamophobia, Destiny?
I could hope so. I could only be so lucky. Do you think that it's like acceptable, or do you think it's okay that if you make fun of a certain religion, those people will come after you with death threats?
I 100% I'm comfortable with the idea that people will come at you for violence when you disrespect not only their faith but their family or anything that they hold dear.
I'm gonna re-ask the same question that you don't want to answer.
Yeah, no, keep doing it.
Okay, so my question is, do you think it's acceptable that if somebody goes after religion, those religious followers will come after them with death threats? Do you think that's an okay thing?
I do not approve of any sort of death threats. But we all know, by the way, let's not play games. We all know that these death threats are mainly and mostly empty. 100%. 99.9%. In fact, if not 100% of the people that are quote unquote threatening Destiny's life. By the way, this man has been threatened numerous times, just to go and show you how fucking garbage and empty these fucking death threats are. He's just mad that Muslims gave him shit for his disrespect towards Islam. That's it.
Okay, I'm asking you again. Do you think it's okay for someone to make death threats?
Wait, did you just not hear me? Wait, 1 second. Did you just not hear me? I'm pretty sure I answered you in the beginning. I told you that I don't.
You said I don't approve. I'm not asking.
Yeah,
I'm asking you, okay, is it morally okay for someone to make death threats towards somebody who makes fun of the Prophet or Islam?
No, I told you it's morally okay to respond with violence. I didn't say that it's morally okay. Yeah, it is morally. It is 100% morally okay. In fact, if you were to look not only across Islam only, it's not only exclusively for Islam, but for the vast majority of religions and for the vast majority of cultures, if you not only come at not their religion, but at their loved ones or anything that they hold dear, they respond with violence.
Okay.
Is that basic?
Well, we're like a fundamental thing then. I think people like that don't belong in liberal society. If you think that that's acceptable, yeah.
I mean, liberal society and religion will never coexist. For liberalism to thrive, you'll need to eliminate religion. So obviously,
no, that's not true. There's a lot of Muslims in the United States that don't share your view. There's a lot of Christians in the United States that don't have the view. There's a lot of Jewish people in the United States and other religions as well that don't share that view.
And would you say those people practice Islam the way that it's meant to be practiced?
Well, the way that you think it's meant to be practiced?
No, not the way that I think it's meant to be practiced, because the deen is clear, the faith is clear.
Obviously, it's not clear when you've got huge divides even in the Middle East over how you practice your religion, right? It's obviously not clear.
So are you telling me that divides in the Middle East are as similar as in the West and what they believe? Because the liberal Muslims in the West are completely comfortable with ideas such as homosexuality, for example.
Okay.
So it's nowhere near similar. The differences in the Middle East.
Well, I mean, the people in the Middle East are literally killing themselves over the differences in their religion and other issues, right? So, I mean, yeah, it seems like there are pretty big disagreements. I'm just saying it's not obviously a clear-cut thing.
Yeah, it's nothing is completely unanimous where 100 out of 100 people completely agree on how a certain verse is interpreted or how a certain law needs to be put into place, obviously. But for the vast majority of Muslims, we are in agreement as to how our faith should be practiced. And for the vast majority of those Muslims, they cannot coexist within Muslims or within liberal society whatsoever.
Okay. Well,
Not
I
a
mean,
chance. So
I wouldn't want to exist with those guys. But I mean, like, where does that like a fundamental impact?
of course
on,
you
right?
described this. Yeah, of course you described us as savages online.
Well, what you're describing is savagery. Yeah, of course.
What is savagery about what I'm describing?
Killing somebody for posting a picture of your ferryman is savage. It's savagery.
No,
Yeah.
no. Get this correct.
Uh-huh.
I said that it's completely 100% correct. If let's say somebody punched you in the mouth, I have no problem with it. Just like if I were to go out of my way and disrespect somebody's mother and they were to punch me in my mouth, that is 100% within their right. That is what I believe. Now, do I believe that somebody needs to fucking chop your head off? Absolutely not. I do not agree with that. So you need to get it correct, because you keep trying to paint me into this corner where I'm saying that I am comfortable with people killing you, which I'm not. We
It
100%.
doesn't really change what I'm
And
saying.
the
Like,
vast
is there, like,
majority.
the violence in response to somebody disrespecting your shitty religion, I just this fundamental incompatible with my view of society. So, but I mean,
And you're willing to 100% take on the mantle of an Islamophobe, right? You believe in it.
if that's what Islamophobia means, then sure, fuck Islam.
Then define. No. 1 second. Define Islamophobia according to you, then. Since clearly, let's see if we're on the same page.
As a liberal in Western society, my beliefs on how society should be ran are incompatible with people who think it's okay to respond with violence to people that make fun of their religion. So if that makes me an Islamophobe, then I'll be an Islamophobe. If you think it's if you think it's a core tenet of Islam to respond with violence to people that post pictures of the Prophet, then fuck those people. If that makes me Islamophobic, then sure.
Okay, so I'll ask you again, because that didn't answer my question whatsoever. Define Islamophobia to me according to what you believe it is. What is Islamophobia?
Colloquially speaking, Islamophobia usually means you hate Muslims. I don't hate Muslims, but I don't like Islam, and I don't like violent Muslims that are defending Islam with violence. But like most Muslims in the United States aren't like that. They're generally pretty chill here. I don't know where the fuck you're from, but
I have a question maybe to kind of get us on some kind of track, right? Apologies, I've been desperately DMing the people we're supposed to show, and they're just not responding. So we'll make do. So you mentioned that Destiny. You mentioned that you don't find it acceptable for people to make violent threats based on making fun of their religion online. Where to you, just so we can get a baseline here, when do you find violence acceptable? Like, at what point can someone cross a line, and once that line is crossed, you're just like, okay, violence is okay to do to this person?
You're asking me or him?
You, Destiny.
You. I'm not Destiny.
I mean,
That's a girl's
violence
name.
is okay in self-defense, I guess. Is generally when I approve of violence or violence mandated by the state for the purpose of enforcing like laws and stuff.
Okay, so if someone is verbally abusive, under no circumstances. I'm just trying to get a...
fuck no.
Okay,
No, if
fair
somebody
enough.
calls you a mean name and you go and attack them, fuck no. That's
Okay.
insane,
Good to know.
in my opinion.
What do you think? Obviously, you have different opinions, Karantos, but for you, Karantos, where is that line? You are obviously okay if someone's mocking religion. How, like, does it have to reach a certain level of mockery, or any mockery whatsoever can be answered with violence at the drop of the hat? Does it have to be a repeated offense? Or what is your where are your lines, Karantos?
No, absolutely. I believe that since you cannot police or figure out people's intentions and what they believe inside, right? I'd say if somebody is coming to you with constructive criticism or with criticism of any kind when it comes to your faith, I believe that that should be actually listened to and you should engage with it. But if people are purely coming to disrespect your faith and to ridicule everything that you hold near and dear to your heart, then I believe 100% it is justified, without a shadow of a doubt, to be violent. 100%. Because I'll tell you this much, right? If you misgender a transgender person, would Destiny not consider that to be a sort of violence against them? Would he not consider it an attack
I don't know.
that hurts
He's
them
here. You
or
can
that
ask
may
him.
lead them? I know he's free to answer when I'm done talking. But would he not consider that, first of all, transphobia, right? And second of all, leading a person that may be vulnerable into possibly hurting themselves even more? What would you say to that, Destiny?
Man, you got me. I'm a huge simp for those trans people. No.
Clearly you're not, but I'm just
Yeah,
interested in your
obviously
take.
not. Is it transphobic? Yeah, it could be, but I don't think you can respond to transphobia with violence.
No, I'm not saying that although some of them do respond with violence. I'm
Yeah,
saying,
I don't approve of
would
that.
would it not be considered in some sort of ways violent for you to misgender somebody, especially if their mental state is so unstable that they view themselves as something that they're not? Because apparently, at last time I checked, you claim to be rooted in reality, and that's why you don't believe in mysticism, and that's why you don't believe in religion. Yet
I
you
mean, you could call it a
100%
type
fully.
of violence, sure, but like if we're gonna define violence as broadly as that, then I'm not gonna say you can respond to that violence with actual physical violence.
No, I'm just curious. So your line is physical violence. What you have a big problem against is physical violence. That's it.
But I mean, that's a pretty big deal, yeah.
No, I mean, sure, but if I were to misgender somebody and they were to go kill themselves, that would also be considered fucked up. I would say that that is way more fucked up than, let's say, a Muslim going out of his way to jumping you or something, and then maybe like giving you a black eye. Wouldn't that make sense?
No, I disagree. I mean,
Well,
unless we're
how would
talking
you
like
disagree?
targeted bullying, where you're like DMing this person, you're getting your whole crew to like gang stalk somebody or whatever. No, just misgendering somebody is not a call for return to violence. No, bullying somebody isn't something you can respond to with violence. I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
Bullying someone. Well, you mentioned certain types of bullying might elicit kind of a moral response to you. If you were being harassed every day, constantly,
Yeah, like if some dude
in
was
and
like
out.
running in front of you every day, screaming in your face
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something, I'm sure at some point. But like just like mean words on the internet,
Fair
no,
enough.
I don't think so.
So
Okay.
you're saying, okay, so 1 second. So does it depend on the amount of times that it happens?
I mean,
Right.
yeah, it could depend on amount of times, proximity. There are some things where theoretically it could be bad, but like it's going to be pretty hard to get there on the internet for like normal people, I think.
What? Weren't you the same man that wanted to kill somebody for DDoSing you a few years ago? I wouldn't say that it's an insane line that is impossible. Of course, if you don't consider yourself normal, then ignore everything that I'm saying.
Probably the same
But
man who wanted to kill somebody who was cutting away all of my income, who I had no recourse through the FBI or the police when I had a child to support and a house to care for, and a guy was basically slashing my tires every single day when I was trying to go into work. Yeah, I was getting pretty desperate in that situation. Correct. You trying to prove a
okay,
point there?
so no, so let me get somewhere. So you are comfortable with not only violence but killing somebody, even though they didn't hurt you physically or they didn't do anything to you other than cut your source of income.
Yeah, if
You are
somebody was
100%
if
comfortable with
somebody was
killing
like,
somebody.
yeah, I guess if somebody was cutting your source of income every day that you used to support your family, then yeah, I probably would. Yeah, go for it. If you came outside every single day and some guy was slashing your tires and he wouldn't stop and you called the police and nobody wanted to do anything despite having proof for it, you're like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna have to attack this dude and maybe even kill him. Yeah, sure, go for it. I think that's okay.
So you're claiming that this same person that was DDoSing you was also slashing your tires, or are
I
you
don't
just
think that's
using it
right.
as an
It's
analogy?
the
You're
it's
just
the
using it.
equivalent. It's the equivalent.
So
to it.
so you're telling me because you were DDoSed and you weren't able to provide for your family, you would 100% resort and you would justify, you would still stand by it today. Because
Yeah, of
according
course.
to you, so till this day you stand by it, because there's plenty of things that you say you do not stand by it, that you cringe at because it happened in the past. So is this one not one of those things?
No, this is something I would stand by. Absolutely. This is like an easy. Yeah, of course.
So just because your income is being cut, it justifies you killing somebody. Now, how does that put it at a higher level than how Muslims hold the Prophet, peace be upon him?
Because
Explain that one to me.
Because it's not even remotely close to the same. What do you mean? Your income is tied to your ability to provide for the survival of your family. Whether or
Was
not
it the only way?
somebody's
But it wasn't the only way that you could provide for your family. Let's be serious now, right? It's not like your life is completely forfeit and your family is going to die because you can't stream on Twitch.
No, but why would
That's
I
not
let
the
a
case.
random third party attack my main source of income? I mean, theoretically, anybody could work a different job, but like,
And you're telling me that that wouldn't be the logical next step to take. The logical
fuck
next
no.
step to
Well, no,
take
why
would
the
have been
fuck would
to
you
go
let a
kill
guy
them.
essentially rob $80,000 a year from you? Fuck no, that's insane.
Okay, so you're telling me that your next logical step to that was not to go get a job, was because that you were being robbed off of 80,000 a year, that it would 100% make sense to go kill that person.
Yeah,
And
they
how
wouldn't
does that?
stop.
So,
Yeah,
so
of
how
course.
does that make you? So how does that make you different from these so-called extremists that you face on Twitter?
Is somebody
That
losing
just threaten
income
you?
when I post a picture of Muhammad?
No, again, you
Is
say
somebody
that.
being threatened when I post a
I'll-
picture of Muhammad?
Now let me answer you. You
Well, no,
say
wait,
that.
answer. Make it analogous.
No,
Let's make it analogous.
no,
now.
no. I'm answering you, right? I literally did. You didn't listen previously, so I'll repeat myself
Okay, so
again.
nobody's being
The
harmed.
reason.
Nobody's losing
No,
income.
one
It's not
second.
comparable.
The reason that you did not, the reason that you felt so strongly about that person that you wanted to kill him, is because not only you, but your child and your wife were at risk, that they were losing income. Yet you completely dismiss the fact that that Muslims hold the Prophet in equal regard to their parents, if not higher. So why wouldn't they feel disrespected that you are tarnishing his name and giving his image a bad light to all these people that are consuming your content, that are following you on Twitter?
The connection
would
doesn't
wanna-
make. The connection is not working.
There is 100% a connection. The reason why you felt so strong and you wanted to kill the person was because they were putting your family at risk. They were putting your ability to put food on the table at risk because you love these people and you wanted to provide for them.
Yes.
Right?
Am I threatening somebody's ability to put food on the table when I post pictures of Muhammad?
Now, again, it's not a complete one-to-one.
It's not a one to anything. It's not even remotely.
It absolutely
comparable.
is, because you're not listening to me. I'm telling you the fact that Muslims hold the Prophet in such high regard that they wouldn't take and they wouldn't tolerate any sort of disrespect, especially coming from somebody that has absolutely no right moral framework whatsoever.
I don't care.
You're 100% comfortable with killing a person.
It's not even targeted towards the person. What do you mean? You don't have the right to go around and be so fucking offended that you want to kill somebody because they make fun of your fairy god. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
and compare that.
Stop.
Can I finish one thing before he soys the fuck out?
You gotta let him finish his point, and then you can respond. I promise you. There's only 2 of you here, so you'll have all the time in the world. Destiny, go ahead.
Yeah. Posting pictures online of somebody does not represent a material harm or threat to another person. If you want to do some crazy mental gymnastics to make that the equivalent of attacking somebody's job, that's fine.
Does it not?
But like I
said,
can I finish? Can you mute him? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you want to do some crazy mental gymnastics to make that the same or similar to threatening somebody's livelihood or whatever, that's fine. But I'm going to say that religious viewpoint is incompatible with my view of society. I would have all of those people removed from whatever fucking country I'm in because that's dysfunctional.
Okay, I'll unmute, and you may respond, Kratos. Go ahead.
So this man just said that images do not equate harm in any way, shape, or form. That images should 100% just be allowed. If somebody wanted to post images of the Holocaust, let's say, and just joke about it,
sure,
that there is nothing harmful. There is nothing harmful or anti-Semitic about it whatsoever.
Well, I didn't say there wasn't anything harmful or anti-Semitic. I'm just saying that harmful and anti-Semitic images can't be responded to with fucking violence.
No. You just said that you are not harming anybody by posting the images that you did and by speaking about Islam.
I never said that.
You just fucking said
that. Kratos, a minute.
Hi, guys. Well, can you hear me?
Yes. Give us a second, 𝙬👫. You're a little late. We're gonna let them go out a little bit, and then we'll get you in there. I promise you. Kratos. Destiny, right? Well, I'll ask Destiny directly. Destiny, if someone posts Holocaust pictures or other photos, do you think it's right to do violence to them?
No, of course not.
Okay.
The term I used earlier was material harm. Okay. If you're like actually damaging somebody's livelihood,
you fucking didn't. Okay,
I literally did. There's tons of ways you can harm somebody. For instance, you gave me that transphobic example earlier, and I said, yeah, that probably would be transphobic, which would probably be harmful. But I said, I don't think you can respond to that with violence. You literally gave me that as an example earlier. Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I don't think you can respond to all forms of harm, especially if we're defining harm very broadly with violence. That's insane.
No, what I asked you was, you say that you do not consider posting the image that you did of Steve mining the Kaaba or of the Prophet, right? You say that these are not harmful. That's what you said. That's what you stated.
I never said that. Some people might consider that harmful, which I'm fine with. That's okay. But you can't respond to a picture harm with violence. That's insane.
Okay. Would you feel the same if someone was posting pictures of your address?
No.
Like...
No, obviously that's a different thing because we're not talking about a picture there. That's like saying, like, what if somebody posted a picture that contained the exact instructions to create like a nuclear pipe bomb? No, obviously not. But the issue there isn't the picture of the. It's not the picture. It's that you're giving instructions for somebody to do harm to something. So, like, for instance, if you posted a picture of like my house and my kid outside, that would probably not be okay. But not because you're posting like an offensive picture, because it's like a call to violence.
Obviously, fucking doxing somebody is completely different than what
sure. I was just because WhickTV.
Okay, no, I understand. But okay, so you're telling me if somebody fucking posted deep fake child porn of your kid, you wouldn't want to kill that person?
Yeah, I probably would, but I wouldn't.
Okay.
So you wait? Get the fuck out of here! That is such a non-answer.
Stop.
It's not a non-answer at all. There's a lot of things
that people do. But I wouldn't.
Kratos, I will mute you again. Stop.
There's a lot of things that people can make you do in life that might make you want to kill that person. There's a difference between having a desire to do something versus saying it's morally permissible to do it. These are two fundamentally... That's why I kept asking you, is it okay for somebody to threaten violence towards me if I make fun of Muhammad? And you kept saying, well, I wouldn't approve, blah, blah, blah. I don't care if you approve. I'm not asking you to approve. We're having a conversation on morals or ethics. It's ethical to do so. There are going to be some things in society that are going to be understandable that probably wouldn't be ethical. If a guy went into a park and another dude like smacked his son and the guy like killed the guy for doing it, like ethically, that's probably not okay. But like I understand why the dude would do it. These are different questions. If you want to ask me questions, be precise, and I'll give you a precise answer.
Okay. At this point, what I want to do is introduce 𝙎𝙪𝙗𝙗𝙧𝙤𝙬, who initially came to me with this source. I'm assuming daylight savings threw you off.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I came back just to my computer. I just went outside for a moment. I came back and I was like, "Oh shit, it's already started." I assumed it was going to start at 3 o'clock. For me here, it's 2:30 in the morning. So I don't know what happened. I think daylight savings.
No, I get it. I almost
but I wanted to give you a chance. We've gotten into it a little bit, but I know you were the one who initially reached out to me and said you had a lot of problems with some of the things that 𝙇𝙞𝙗 has said and the interactions he's had. So I wanted to give you a chance to kind of hash that out and kind of give us why did you reach out to me? What caused you to want to talk to 𝙇𝙞𝙗 about what he's done?
Yeah, so I wrote a little opening statement, but I suppose it's moot now because we've already jumped into it.
If I can read it, why not? Go for it.
Okay, sure, why not? I'll go for it. So right away, I want to say that I'm not an Islamic scholar, right? I'm not an expert in Islamic theology. If during the course of this discussion any of those topics come up, just know that I'm like, don't take what I say as gospel. Like all I can say is just what upon my knowledge, and that's should be taken just as that. So like if we touch upon the topic of like, is Islam a force for good or ill or not? Like I think we're gonna have trouble coming to some like any real conclusions and overcoming the fundamental differences in the philosophical like foundations. Like the definition of good and for a divine command theorist just doesn't exist for a moral anti-realist. So it's going to be a difficult discussion to have if we touch on that. For the topics that concerned 𝙇𝙞𝙗𝙗's tweeting, my goal isn't to woke scold 𝙇𝙇𝙗𝙗 for being like for being Islamophobic or for being an Islamophobe. Like I've seen people try similar things before and it's been an effort in futility, really. But I do think a discussion or acknowledgement of Islamophobia is pertinent, as it's an issue that frames this whole discussion. I've tried to keep my aim clear and concise. It's to argue that the reactions of Muslims, as outraged as they've been, should not be characterized as fragility, as 𝙇𝙤𝙗𝙗 often and repeatedly has. And if you do see it as fragility, it's a rational, logical, and warranted fragility, at least from an Islamic perspective.
Let's ask directly, yeah. What about the death threats and other such calls to violence to 𝙇𝙞𝙗𝙗 that you think do you find reasonable?
So we have to look at this from like an Islamic perspective to understand like whether you would characterize the death threats or the silencing of someone as fragility. So like the Islamic outrage that 𝙇𝙤𝙗𝙗 has experienced, right, is at least, I think, rationally and logically commensurate with mocking the Prophet. From an Islamic perspective, it's internally consistent. So like to characterize it as fragility is extremely harmful and it's pernicious, and as well as the other things that 𝙇𝙤𝙗𝙗 said, that Muslims are violent and such and so forth. We can talk about that later on in the future. But I think to characterize Muslims as fragile and the connotations that go along with that is extremely pernicious.
Just on asking for that definition, with that definition of fragility, isn't by definition then literally nobody fragile? Like if I use that same thing, so like let's say for instance somebody comes out and they say like, oh, like I think that white people are like the mayonnaise of people, and somebody's like, that's horrible, that's evil, I can't believe you'd say that, and you're like, oh well, you're fragile. Couldn't I wheel out this explanation and say, well, within the context of a society where this individual feels like their whiteness is under attack and it's being heralded by the media as a great thing to shut on white people, he's actually not being fragile. Like I feel like from an individual's perspective, they're never really being fragile. No?
Sure.
Like,
yeah, something can be fragile. Everything could be fragile, or nothing could be fragile, depending on some person's personal subjective experience.
Sure.
But I think if we can agree on some fundamentals, or if you can understand the Muslim perspective, at least to a degree, I've put forth a little syllogism for you. If you can somewhat understand or agree with them, even slightly, I think we shouldn't characterize Muslims as fragile for how they've been acting. So, premise one. The Prophet is an ultimate example for mankind from now until the end of time. He's central to the Islamic faith, which is humanity's key to heaven and the afterlife. If his example is obscured, humanity's salvation is threatened. 2, mocking the Prophet has no benefit, unlike a critique or investigation into something that you may disagree with, other than to reduce the gravity of the Prophet. Other than to reduce his gravity and his authority. And worst of all, potentially obscures the historical record of his example. obscuring the historical record of the Prophet's example is a threat to all humanity. Therefore, mocking the Prophet should be silenced. Now, we can discuss the soundness of it, and we can discuss the premises. But if we can agree to its validity, I think we can also agree that Muslims shouldn't be characterized as fragile,
can I ask
not
you,
irrationally fragile.
Sure. Can I ask you directly? Do you believe that? Do you believe? So you are a practicing Muslim, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So do you believe that the Prophet Muhammad is the key to mankind's salvation?
I do. Yes.
I do. So do you think, right, like that? Do you feel threatened when he is mocked? Do you feel like humanity is threatened when he is mocked?
Me personally?
Yes, you personally.
No, not necessarily. No, I don't. Not me personally.
Being that you are a practicing Muslim, right? Being that you are a practicing Muslim and you share the faith, right? What is the difference between you and someone, a Muslim who would feel that way, who would feel personally threatened over all this?
Well, it's about the...
Is it fragility?
It's about the even slightest... It's not about fragility, it's about warranted or irrational, unwarranted fragility. If there's even the slightest chance that a inaccuracy of the Prophet crystallizes, then the entire concept of humanity, the entire faith is threatened. Now, I might not necessarily think that Destiny's tweets in particular are threatening that concept or threatening the Islamic faith. But you have to understand that the Islamic faith is a faith from now, from when the Prophet was conceived until the end of time. And so there has to be Islamically some logical structure to protect that. It's meant to be from the people like talking about the Prophet in the desert sands, to Destiny talking on Twitter, to the fucking humanity when we're all half cyborgs, and even after that when the apocalypse has happened and we're all back to sticks and stones. So even though I might necessarily personally right now feel threatened by Destiny's tweets, I can absolutely understand the logical chain which causes someone to make threats towards Destiny.
Do you feel that's justified?
So I mean, like, so to be clear, the argument that you've given me is valid. But to be clear, this syllogism could be given for literally anything. Like, here's the problem with this syllogism is, like, I feel like I could theoretically plug this into two different groups that would become incompatible in society. So for instance, if you say premise one, that Muhammad provides like this clear, obvious like example for how we should act, like I could theoretically provide like Jesus here, or whatever, I don't know what the main prophet Jewish people care about or whatever is, right? But like I could plug that person in there. And then for number two, where we talk about how your second part of your premise two, that mocking the prophet has no benefit, right? There's no reason to do that. Somebody might consider worshiping another god as being a vain act that is mocking, you know, their true god or their true prophet. Theoretically, I could poise these two syllogisms against one another, where they're equivalent, but they just have different like stand-in figures for who the prophet is in Prophets 1 or 2. And then in that case, now I've generated both I've generated internally valid conclusions on both sides that now pits religious groups against each other in like violent holy wars. That's not acceptable to me. Yeah.
Sure, but that's why I specifically talked about mocking. What goal does mocking have other than to ridicule? There is no goal.
Well, I mean, like, it depends on how you define mocking, right?
Yeah, well, and that's why Islamically you believe that you shouldn't. We can talk about the definition of mocking, sure. But Islamically, you believe that we shouldn't mock anyone's gods. I think there's a phrase that specifically do not mock their gods in reference to the pagans, specifically because of this. Yeah, you shouldn't mock anyone's gods.
Okay. I mean, if you want to say that mocking is only making fun of, I feel like I've heard the phrase in religious context is like making a mockery of, could be like worshiping a false idol or worshiping another god. If you want to narrow that down in premise two, then I mean, again, I guess I can accept that your syllogism is internally valid. Obviously, I'm going to fight on the soundness of it because I don't agree that Muhammad is a fucking whatever. But I would still reject that this is like a syllogism that should be embraced in society. But if you're to back up, I'm sorry, if you're only making the claim that the person isn't fragile, I would also fight on those grounds, because I think that if we're going to argue over the fragility of somebody, we're probably going to be talking about the soundness of an argument, not the validity, because you can make a ton of valid arguments that would make it so essentially nobody is fragile, right?
Sure. So we can discuss the soundness, and you might potentially, and you probably might, come to the conclusion that Muslims may still be considered fragile from your perspective. But I think if anyone can, that argument is not necessarily to you. It's an argument is, if anyone can understand that and can reason with it at all, that's when Muslims shouldn't be considered as irrational.
Well, it's not about it being irrational, but I'm saying that the reason why nobody should consider this argument is because then, again, by this argument, nobody is fragile, right? A trans person that gets misgendered and then wants to kill people, well, they're not being fragile. Like, when trans people are made fun of, it makes them kill themselves, right? So I could construct a syllogism showing that making fun of trans people leads to suicide, you know.
So therefore you should make fun of trans people, sure.
Yeah, and that, like, people aren't fragile. But, like, again, I could construct a syllogism to make nobody fragile. Like, literally nobody will be fragile at that point. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the word.
Please explain that again, how no one will be fragile.
Okay, give me an example.
I can understand how everyone might be fragile, but I don't understand how
give me an example of, like, who could be considered fragile ever. Like, for instance, let's say I go
Black
online and
people?
let's say, sure. So let's say So let's say that I say something like, oh, like, you know, fuck rap. I hate rap and the black people that made it. And then somebody online is like, oh no, fuck you. I'm going to kill you for saying that. And I go, oh, well, you sound pretty fragile. That person could theoretically argue, well, black people have been under attack in the United States for a long time. I feel like our lives are constantly under threat by white culture and by police. And by you engaging in criticism of us that's baseless and just a mockery, I feel like it puts us at threat. Therefore, no, I'm not being fragile. Like, this represents a real threat to me.
I think you're missing premise one. Premise one says that, you know, that a Muslim, that the Prophet Muhammad is central to the Islamic faith. If if someone believed that a black person believed that rap was central to being a black person, then that reaction, that fragility might have more merit to it.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be that the rap is central. I'm just saying that for premise one, it's just the idea that, like, making fun of any part of, like, black culture is necessarily, like, attacking all black people or something.
I want to ask, do we not think mockery, and this is a little bit of an aside, but I am curious, do we not think mockery serves a purpose? Mockery absolutely, in my opinion, would serve a purpose. Things that, some things deserve to be mocked. Some things should be mocked because mockery tends to make them less powerful. It tends to diminish their standing in society. Certain views are absolutely things that I would mock, and I would hope others would mock too and make a mockery of. When we make things a mockery, we take away their power in a lot of ways. And I can understand, right, while you wouldn't want your belief structure or religion mocked because it does take away the power, we could imagine scenarios where there are other groups like Nazism or fascism or whatever that, yeah, that should be mocked because we absolutely want to take away power from them. What about you, Krontos? What do you think? Do you think mockery serves a purpose, or?
I mean, other than to disrespect and ridicule and inflame people, then I don't see any other use for mockery. But I would love to know.
Oh, I think there's a great purpose for mockery. Yeah, it's funny. It's fun.
Yeah, but
no. Other than saying that it's funny, other than saying that it's
Humor's
hilarious,
a big part of our lives.
What other justification is there for you posting what you did?
None. It's just funny as fuck.
So you're telling me you just woke up one day and decided, you know what? I'll decide to post this.
𝙎𝙪, we're getting an echo from you.
I apologize.
Is that the only reason that you did it?
Yeah, basically, it was fucking hilarious.
Or is it not because
you chuckled for it, right?
Because I couldn't fucking believe it. And I'll tell you why I couldn't believe it. Because I know you understand the consequences that come from disrespecting Islam. You've made fun of Sneeko for it. You've made fun of your friend for it.
Whoa, hold on. Let's be clear. No, yeah, I made fun of Sneeko for backing off, not for making fun of Islam.
That's what I was about to say.
Okay,
you made fun of him because he backed off since people gave him a hard time for his mockery of the prayer, and he did the whole panel with the 3 Muslims and young Don. And you made fun of him because ever since then, when the topic of Islam comes, he turns into a fucking pussy. He doesn't even ask the logical questions that any Muslim would ask. So you knew the consequences that come from mocking Islam. So even with the knowledge that you had, you still went ahead and you did what you did. But all of a sudden, once you face the consequences, you turned into a fucking pussy and you started to cry about Elon and how nobody's getting banned for coming at you. Now, how does that make any sense? Where's the accountability?
I don't think
where's the accountability in that?
What do you mean accountability? I don't think the accountability for making fun of some religious people is that, like, people can make death threats that are against the TOS. I was just curious how nobody got banned. Yeah.
Make this make sense for me. If I saw 10 motherfuckers get smacked for saying the N-word, for example, or the S-word, whatever the fuck, right? And then I joined in line, knowing fully well each and every person that said it got smacked for it. And then I said it. Do I not deserve to get smacked? Just off of principle. Just off of principle.
No, I would
absolutely.
say no. But I don't believe in like violence for words. That's not a thing that I.
Do you never? Is that a principle, fundamental, Siam, that you stand by?
I mean, assuming we're not talking like making threats or something. Yeah.
No, we're talking pure mockery.
Yeah.
The man said.
So
the man
where
said-
does harassment factor into this? Where does an insult become harassment? And why is a harassment? Assuming we're not talking about making threats.
An insult can become harassment very quickly, but I don't think you can respond to harassment with violence.
Ever?
I mean, no.
Well,
the
I
man
mean,
said
I'm
that
sure
he
we
wouldn't
could-
even fucking.
Kratos,
beat
you
up
got.
the fucking-
Wait,
Stop.
Kratos,
You
Kratos.
gotta let
Kratos.
him respond. Destiny's been addressed. Let Destiny respond. You will have your say. I promise.
Yeah, I'm sure in good faith I could probably think of like if there's some kid that's getting surrounded by like 4 people like outside a bus stop every single day and they're constantly insulting whatever, then maybe like I'm sure that we can think of some egregious forms of harassment if I'm being like super good faith, or maybe I could understand like a violent reaction, but in general, no, I don't think you ever respond to harassment or mockery with violence. No.
So we can agree. So it's not a principle that you have. It's not an axiom. You can respond with violence in some respects, right?
There might be some, if I'm being super good faith, but generally no.
You don't believe that you should respond with violence to any sort of speech, damn near all the time, if not like 100% of the time, right?
Well, we could think of some speech, like if somebody's like doing like a call to violence, for instance, or somebody's
Not a call to not a call to violence, not doxing. Like I said, like fucking degenerate, disgusting, heinous things like
no
let's see,
degenerate, disgusting, heinous things.
deep
should not be responded
fake.
to. Yeah.
No, now hold on.
Deep
When I
fake
told you,
porn of
when I
my
said,
child or my
Stop,
wife.
stop, both of you.
You said
Sorry.
Okay, stop, both of
no.
you.
Okay,
Go
well,
ahead,
okay, I won't say it again.
Kratos.
Okay.
You're physically incapable of stopping. I have to stop you, and this can't go on. Okay, I don't like to hit the mute button, but I will anyway. Finish your question to Destiny, but then you gotta let Destiny answer. Okay, go ahead.
Is Destiny an affirmative action, and is he black? Okay, you gotta speak up for him every 10 seconds. He's a grown boy. Okay, he's a big boy. Anyways, the man said that he wouldn't even fucking lay a finger on the dude that would do such a thing. Now, last time I said kill, right? And I could understand how like somebody could justify not killing. But you're telling me that even if somebody were to do that, you would not even lay a finger on them.
No, not. We have a legal system for that. That's how society's supposed to work. That's what makes us civilized and not savage.
But if the legal system
No,
does not
but
respond,
no, Destiny,
you're comfortable in doing so, right? You're comfortable. Because when they didn't respond to the DDoS fucking
What do you think?
with the
is
DDoS and all the
the
shit, then
DDoS thing wasn't somebody just harassing me. It was somebody cutting off my income. They were causing me material harm.
yeah, but you okay, you're telling me it's not harmful to have that type of shit
Kratos,
on the internet?
give Usmark a minute.
material, money, property, stuff is being lost.
That's the only thing you give a fuck about?
When it comes to responding with violence, yes. The only other thing to care about is your ego, which I don't think you can respond to with violence.
How the fuck is it?
Okay, but-
how the fuck is that example egotistical in any way?
Okay, Usmark, go ahead.
Yeah, but Destiny, but how do you deal with the fact that your opinion is actually a minority view? Your opinion, your view is subjectively your own, but it's an extremist one. When you look online and when you look at research done on people's opinions on free speech, America, I think, is one of only a handful of nations in which majority of people think that insults and mocking other people's religion should be allowed. Like, how do you square that?
I love this
like,
country. You're asking me how do I square the
No, but
fact
so
that
then-
my
no,
country
but-
is very extreme when it comes to freedom of speech?
Okay,
I love it.
so
That's
would
why
you
I
stand
can't
by
think
the
about that.
accusation that 70% of people are uncivilized and savages? If that's your characterization, that responding with physical violence, be that by someone's own individual hands or by the state apparatus, is uncivilized and savage, wouldn't then 70% of the world population be savage?
I don't know if I don't know how I
uncivilized?
would judge them based on my country's standards, right? When you're in a different country, you react in a different way. If I went to like fucking the UAE or Saudi Arabia and I'm supposed to wear some goofy fucking like getup or whatever, I'd do it as a respect for the culture because I'm visiting their country. It's not my country anymore. I don't have a right to say how they run their shit, right? I'm probably not gonna suck any dicks in fucking Dubai because I don't want to get thrown off a. Never mind.
I'm
But,
not.
like,
I'm
just
not.
saying,
I'm not
like,
necessarily
in general,
making
like,
an
I'm
argument.
cringe.
I'm
just saying their thing, but in my country, we have the right for things like hate speech. And if you think that you could be violent over that, then yeah, I think that's savage because that's my country and these are my rules and my area. Yes.
Because Twitter operates off of the rules in your country, right?
Because what?
Because Twitter operates off of the rules in your country, right? Twitter has to answer to fucking free speech, fucking
Okay, so if someone, wait, I want to
No.
ask a question. So if someone in another country reacts physically to, I don't know, whatever it be, mockery and insult, whatever. If someone in another country in which the laws of the state allow that to happen, are they then not savage and not uncivilized?
There's probably going to be like some fundamental like ethical principle that I'm going to say is savage.
That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. It seems like you're appealing to legality and then putting to your own personal philosophy whenever it suits you.
Well, there are going to be some things that I think transcend countries. Would mocking somebody's religion, I think I would universalize that. I would say if you mock somebody's religion and then somebody attacks you for it physically, yeah, I would say I would always consider that to be.
Well, then how do you deal with the fact that you're in a minority view? Worldwide, you're in a minority.
I would just think I'm better than a majority of people, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. But then can you see how using your own personal minority and...
Well, not personal.
You could even...
Careful, not personal. This is like a Western minority country, but it's a Western, yeah.
No, don't use the word Western, because when you look at it, Germany,
how about American?
Poland...
Can we use American?
Okay, let's say
yeah, America-centric. Okay, I could... how would... Okay, you're using your personal chauvinistic, I would even go as far as to use that word, personal chauvinistic moral philosophy to judge the reaction of Muslims and people worldwide. Like, does that... Can you not see how that can be, perceived as Islamophobic?
If this is what it means to be Islamophobic, I don't care about that label. I'll be Islamophobic. I don't care. I'm fine with that. If I have to respect somebody's right to get violent, if you mock their religion, and not respecting that makes me like Islamophobic, I'll be Islamophobic. I'm okay with it.
And by the way, remember, it doesn't hurt Destiny's pockets to be Islamophobic, but God forbid you label him as an anti-Semite. Then all of a sudden he's gonna switch up because that would then affect his fucking pockets.
Careful.
Because of course,
Anti-Semite usually implies hatred of Jewish people. I don't hate Muslims. I think I even made a tweet clarifying that. And I don't think, you can go through my tweets, but I don't think I've actually ever attacked Muslims. I think I'm usually shitting on Muhammad, his doll-playing wife, and then the Kaaba or whatever. I don't think I'm actually saying, like, oh, Muslims suck. I hate Muslims. They're dirty people, like Arabs are, like Ben Shapiro made that tweet about how Arabs live in dirt or whatever, right? I don't think I've said anything like that. So when you say I'm Islamophobic, I'm very specifically just shitting on the religion.
So
I'm not attacking
just real quick, one of the tweets, do you have the tweet up? Mark, are you about to read it? Because I'll let you read it.
No, you can read it. But I was going to ask Destiny a question, but sure, go ahead.
No, ask your question while I get it up, because I do want to ask Destiny about one tweet where I think I'm going to be clear, but I think you did call Muslims violent and fragile.
He did, yes. I was going to...
No, he's going to say only the ones that fucking hit you with the death threats.
I can pull up the tweet, but what he said was...
Oh, if you are making threats because someone is posting a picture online, you are fragile and violent.
Yeah, I'm okay.
But he can... You is like, it's ambiguous, right? He's not necessarily talking about Muslims, so fair enough.
And by the way, did you say you would be...
Wait, hold on. To be clear, I don't think that sounded ambiguous at all. That sounded incredibly crystal clear. Am I missing something? Can you read that
clear?
Again?
It clarified then for me.
Hold on, let me... Which tweet are you talking about? Read me the tweet.
If you are making threats because someone is posting a picture online, you are fragile and violent.
Yeah, I stand by that tweet.
By the way, says the same man that said if you question historical facts, right, when it comes to World War II and certain things that happened in World War II, that would make you anti-Semitic. You just said anti-Semitism is when you hate Jewish people. But I specifically remember you saying this to Sneeko, that you would be an anti-Semite because of certain questions that could incite hate towards Jews. Or am I misquoting you here?
You're conflating a few things. I think asking questions about World War II is totally fine. Even asking questions about the Holocaust is totally fine. The problem is a lot of that line of questioning becomes anti-Semitic because it's not like, oh, I've got valid questions about the Holocaust. I'm wondering. It's, oh, the Holocaust didn't happen the way that people said it does, and the only reason we think that is because Jewish people control society, and they're trying to use that to make us feel bad for them so they can run the world, right?
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, and could you not see how your fucking humor, quote unquote, how your jokes about Islam is the same exact thing that Islamophobes that wish harm on Muslims in certain nations, such as Myanmar, such as India, they use the exact same type of humor that you do, because I've seen it. I've interacted with those people and how it could lead to actual crimes against Muslims. Could you not see the connection there? How?
No.
So by simply okay, so
Karatos, stop. Karatos, can you tell us the connection? Can you explain to all of us listening, paint it crystal clear for us? What is the connection between jokes such as Destiny made and actual violence or crimes against Muslims? Please paint that picture for me.
As Uzamark stated, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in the center of our faith. I say alayhi salatu wasalam. Come on, he's in the center of our faith, right? You
Does he like
disrespect
get
the
mad
Prophet.
if you don't say that every time? Or
No, I say it every time. By the way, I only have to say
No,
it once.
you don't. You only have to say it once.
You only have to say it once, but I say it every time, specifically because I'm around you. Because you're the fucking demon, okay? But
I'm just checking.
here it is, right?
Is he a snow bunny demon, or is that different?
Jesus Christ!
This right here is a vanilla gorilla. I don't trust him, right? I gotta be careful. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing.
By the way, if I made any kind of comment like that towards you, you'd lose your fucking mind, dude. Your turban would come flying off your fucking head. If
Make all the again.
Right,
You're such a considerate person. You wouldn't hurt my feelings. Of course you are. I've seen your Twitter page. But here's the thing, right? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in the center of our faith, right? He's in the center of our faith. You disrespect him. You paint him in a negative image. You paint him in a way that lowers his image in the world. You make it much more comfortable for people to start disrespecting Islam as a whole. And we see it in the West. We see it with Christians openly depicting Jesus in very disrespectful ways. And how Christianity itself has started to crumble. And why, and this is a fact that Destiny fucking despises and hates, why there's an incredible amount of conservatives and an incredible amount of red people / manosphere people that are embracing Islam. Now, of course, are quite a fucking few of them absolute grifters and are doing it only for clout. Yes, but there's a great amount of people in the West. In fact, the fastest growing religion in the world is Islam, right? And he hates this embrace of Islam. And this embrace of Islam would become weaker if you start depicting our Prophet in the ways that he did.
So, just curious, do you think that things like killing the journalists at the comic people at the Charlie Hebdo place, or murdering that one teacher who showed the picture of Muhammad, do you think that these things are strengthening Islam or weakening Islam? Just curious.
I don't think that they're doing
impossible to prove.
How could I tell you
that? That's impossible to prove, but you think it's easily possible to prove that by me showing a diamond pickaxe mining the Kaaba, that's actually causing harm?
But to clarify, there's no issue, no real fundamental issue with you posting meme pics of the Kaaba. The issue is specifically and quite concentrated on the Prophet itself. You can joke about the Kaaba, you can joke about X, Y, Z, but the issue specifically comes with the Prophet. And to go to your earlier point, it's impossible to say. It's impossible to say whether, if mocking the Prophet was allowed historically through 1,450, 1,500 years, however long it's been, if mocking the Prophet was allowed, whether that would have corrupted the faith.
Well, it seems like we can mock Jesus and all these other things, and Christianity seemed to be a pretty strong
no. Actually, by 2050, Islam will be.
Or whatever?
It is. By 2050, Islam is going to be the most dominant world faith. Islam is only one of two, only one of two faiths that is growing, not just by birth rates, but by conversions. There's a net gain in conversions. So if we're using that barometer as as the threshold for whether this Islamic structure and jurisprudence in regard to mocking the Prophet is valid, or if it has merit, if it works, it seems to be yes. So I don't know, but it's impossible to say.
Is that the reason why, or is it because Islam is with like way more fucking people that can be converted and everything else? Like,
it's growing religion in the West where it's a minority.
It's growing.
Are there
it's
a lot of
growing
people
not
in the United States that are like converting to Islam?
Yes.
Yeah, if you look at Pew Research, it's one of, I think there's Muslims and certain pagan religions. I think maybe I can find the thing for you. There's Muslims and one pagan religion that is growing through conversion.
Just Googled real quick. So 2018, a Pew Research survey found that Islam gains about as many converts as it loses in the U.S.
No, I saw a Pew Research that found that there was 3 million net gain.
Okay.
See if I can find it.
But that's just from 2018, so maybe yours is
perhaps
recent.
So.
I don't know. I don't have any of these studies at my fingertips, but I think let's go. Let's just surmise. For the
actually, Pew Research 2020.
Karatos, please. For the purposes of the discussion, Karatos, you are physically incapable. Okay. I will have to, I'll have to take measures. But for the purposes of the discussion, let's just grant that grant that Islam is one of the fastest growing religions. Do you think that
I can
gives
post it in the chat if you want.
Sure. Do you think that's that is enough, but in and of itself, to justify its existence or justify its rules? Because it's succeeding, it must be that its rules are the reason why. Do you think
Well,
we
it
can
shows
isolate
that the
to
rules are
very-
effective.
Does it though? Right? Or is it
Absolutely.
effective in spite of the rules? Like, is it in fact effective in spite of these rules that if you otherwise didn't have, it would be even more effective? I just don't find that compelling. That's all.
Let me answer you. Let me answer you first, Wick. One of the biggest reasons, if you were to look, and of course this was anecdotal, I'll give it to you, right? But if you were to look at the reason why a lot of people are converting to Islam, one of the things that they would tell you is that in spite of society pushing you one way, which is, by the way, the complete opposite way in which Islam stays in, right? Islam does not change. Islam does not fall. Islam does not deviate from what it was 1,400 years ago, from what the Prophet got himself. Islam
Well-
is still the same religion, right? And in fact, if you were to look at Christianity today, and by the way, there's nobody on this fucking call that is more knowledgeable about Christianity than Destiny himself, as he grew up Christian.
Wait, no,
If you were to ask,
No,
well, you also did.
I was
Well,
I
okay.
was a missionary for 2 years back in the day.
Okay,
I'm pretty.
so you're telling me when you see transgender pastors, you're telling me that is 100% in line with the Christian faith and teachings.
But you're doing the no true
Wait,
Islam
okay, so-
thing, right? Because there are Muslims in the United States that are accepting of gay people. I think Muslims are more accepting of gay people than the general U.S. population. But you're going to say, well, those aren't real Muslims, right? So,
No, I'm not. No. First of all, I will not say that. But second of all, I would say find anything in the deen itself, in Islam, that justifies their position. Their position is taken on because of the society that they live in. That is a liberal take. That is not an Islamic take. They cannot justify it using Islam. They can't.
I'll put it this way, Wick. Islam is one of the, if not the only growing religion in the world. It's going to become the most predominant religion by 2050, and it is the, if not one of the only religions that has such a strict adherence to making sure that the faith is not corruptible, and such a strict adherence to its own internal laws. Like, you can't say causatively that one caused that B caused A or whatever. You can't say causatively for certain, but there's a correlation there.
We do
Here-
know.
here- this is what I would say, and this is actually what I bet is what's probably going on, is most Western countries are predominantly Christians, and most Western countries are probably becoming more and more secular, especially across Europe. As nations become more developed, as people gain access to more things like knowledge and science, they tend to become more secular over time. So in these countries, Christians are probably losing lots of followers. I know it's happening massively in the United States, and I know that even Europe, especially places like Scandinavia, are way more secular than the United States. Now in other countries, especially countries in Africa, especially countries in the Middle East, where there's more conflict, where there might not be necessarily as much development, you probably still have people that are joining the faith, or you probably still have people that are having more children or are being Islamic. And then in the United States, you're probably always going to have more people converting away from Christianity than converting towards Christianity, because I think 60% of Christians, or 60% of you are still Christians. So of course those numbers are always going to be going down, and you only have to pick up a few Muslims to make net gains in the United States. That would probably be my guess. I could think
But there's
of
net gains for Muslims worldwide, not just in the United States.
Yeah.
So
but listen, this is what I'm saying. Let's say there's 1 million people in the United States.
I mean, net gains through
900,000 are Christian, 500 are Muslim. Like, if you gain 500 Muslims and lose, 10,000 Christians, that's a huge gain for Muslims in the United States. That's what I'm saying. The United States is majorly Christian, so of course any gain to Islam in the United States is going to be like a net gain for Muslims.
I'm not talking just about the United States. I'm saying there's net gains through conversions worldwide. I'm not talking just this United States.
Yeah, but again, when you say worldwide, like, all of the West that was largely Christian, those people are like leaving Christianity en masse, right? Very few of them are probably converting to Islam, and most of them are probably becoming secular.
Yeah, but this osmosis that you're talking about can go both ways. Why doesn't it seem that Muslims are converting to Christianity?
I don't think anybody's converting. Well, there might be some Muslims converting to Christianity, but you're going to lose them in the overall numbers of people that are leaving Christianity, right? Because there are fewer Muslims in these countries than there are Christians. If you've got 1 million Christians and 100,000 Muslims, if 20,000 Muslims convert to Christianity, but 50,000 people leave the Christian faith, even with Muslims converting to Christianity, you're still having an outflow from Christianity because it's the predominant religion. That's like a statistical artifact.
True. Yeah, but I guess we're going to have to see. We're going to wait until 2050 to see how the projections...
Also, keep in mind that if this is true, if what you're saying is true, you've actually given me like a really powerful argument for why I should be going harder on Islam in my tweets, because I don't want more people becoming Muslim, becoming Islamic. I think it's like
Can I ask
moral
why,
wrong.
Destiny?
So,
Can you be
because
clear
because
why?
I don't think I agree with any of the core tenets of most of these religious faiths, especially in regards to social issues, regards to like how women ought to be treated, with regards to how some of the more fundamentalist police are ran in some of these countries and their legal systems, with regards to like LGBT or social issues. Like these are things that I don't consider good. I wouldn't want more people being Islamic and having these beliefs.
Do you think?
Yeah, we can talk about any of those issues if you want.
Sure. Do you think Islam is a violent religion?
Are you asking me?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't like to when you talk about things like Christianity and Islam when you got like fucking like billions of followers. I don't like to say the whole religion is violent. If Islam as a religion was violent, then there would be terrorist attacks hourly all across the world. It would be over. It'd be fucking like over all over in Europe and shit. But instead, we only see like a handful generally, or like I would be dead by now if Islam was truly like a religion of violence, right? So I won't paint anything with such a broad brush.
Okay, Destiny, I want to ask you a question.
Pussy!
Destiny, is it wrong to mock someone's parents
Hold on one
unsolicited?
second. Torontos, you're echoing too. Please stop that.
Am I?
Yes, you are. Go on.
It's through 𝙬𝖎𝖐 shit, by the way. I'm not echoing.
Your
don't-
thing's lighting up.
I don't think it's mine.
Yeah, it's not 𝙬𝖎𝖐's. Toronto's. Yours the ones that's lighting up. But go ahead. Ask your question.
Yeah, Destiny, is it wrong to mock someone's parents unsolicited?
Is it?
You're trying to
wrong?
appeal to his morality. He doesn't give a shit.
Well, let me
I'm just
think
curious.
about it. Is it wrong? Is it morally wrong to make fun of somebody?
Someone's parents unsolicited. Let's use that example.
I'd say probably. Yeah, it's probably mean. It's probably wrong. Sure. Sure. I'll give you a yes on that one.
Okay, why?
Probably being mean in general to people is probably wrong. You shouldn't be mean to people. It's not like a moral good for sure. If anything, it's wrong or neutral.
Okay, so then can you see where I'm going with this? Can you see how it's a moral wrong then to mock the Prophet?
Sure, it could be a moral wrong to mock the Prophet. We're not talking about whether or not something is right or wrong. We're talking about whether you ought to respond to it with violence and whether or not that's morally acceptable. So, for instance, I might say it's wrong to mock somebody's parents. That doesn't mean I think it's ethically acceptable to respond to somebody mocking your parents by being violent to them.
So if someone's committed a moral wrong, doesn't that entail then that there should be some comeuppance or some sort of retaliation?
But that comeuppance can be making fun of that person. That comeuppance could be not talking to that person. Like, it doesn't have to be violence. There's plenty of ways that we punish activity. Like, for instance, do we agree that telling lies is wrong? Right?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And then my next question is going to be like, should we hurt somebody for telling a lie? Do they have to get like physically punished for it? Like, probably not.
You see, it depends on like someone's own personal philosophy. But
that question,
I don't think, we can talk about this if you'd like, because you seemed interested in this. I don't think philosophically like should be much of a distinction made between emotional hurt and physical hurt, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong to respond to emotional hurt with a physical retaliation.
Can I jump in here for a minute? The reason we have this disagreement, and we've disagreed with this before, is because it's very hard to measure emotional hurt, whereas it's pretty easy to measure material hurt. You can measure how much money someone has lost. You can measure the value of the destruction to their property that you've done. You can measure how much damage you've given them in medical bills. All sorts of ways to measure these things. Whereas emotional hurt, right, would not hurt me at all, right? Mocking my parents, mocking me, mocking my teeth and stuff like that wouldn't bother me at all emotionally. I'm pretty emotionally stable like that.
Yeah.
However,
So
there are people, just let me finish. There are people who, if I simply looked at them wrong, would be deeply emotionally hurt by that. We cannot use people's emotions to measure harm, right? Or to mete out punishment for that, because it's just so unstable. Like there's no real level of measurement that we could use.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is like practicality, on the level of practicality, right? First, you're jumping a step ahead. First, I just want to talk in levels of principle. Principally, if we could know, let's say we were like an omniscient being, or we're fucking 2,000 years in the future, you can plug some shit in someone's brain and you can understand clearly what is going on, what level of emotional hurt they're feeling. Philosophically, I don't think it's wrong to respond physically to emotional hurt. Can we agree on that, Wick?
No,
principle.
I think there's a fundamental difference. I do. I think that again, they're just different things, and we can't equate them and make them the same, conflate them as I think you were doing. So I disagree on principle. That's all. I don't know what the rest of you think, because I want to get Krantos in here. Krantos, do you think that emotional harm and physical harm are the same on principle?
I 100% believe that if somebody hurts you emotionally, you fully have the right to respond physically. Because, by the way, the vast majority of times where people are hurt is because more times than not, they were hurt emotionally to begin with. Somebody antagonized them in one way or the other, and they responded physically. That is how most of the world operates to begin with. And second of all, a lot of the times our emotions and the way that we feel inwards and in our minds manifests physically. That is the little reason why people like you, Wick, and people like Destiny are completely comfortable with people that have mental illnesses, that view themselves as something that they're not, and that actually go through surgeries and completely change their outward appearance, their physical body, to match with what's on the inside. So now, if you're saying that you shouldn't conflate the two, what would you say in those instances? Would you say that somebody who, let's say, is a male, a born male that transitions to female, would you say that they shouldn't change anything?
No one is doing that to them. They are doing it to themselves, and it's a fundamentally different thing. They are not having it done unto them. They are choosing to take upon that and do it to themselves.
So you're telling me if somebody is mentally ill and they're fucking cutting themselves, you shouldn't intervene whatsoever, because that is something
that's
they're
not
doing
what
to
I'm
themselves.
saying. I'm saying that's a fundamentally different thing than someone else taking their arm and cutting it.
But how is it fundamentally different if they're both mental illness?
What?
Unless you don't believe that it's mental illness, that somebody genuinely believes that they're the other gender or the other sex, which they are not.
I'm not here to debate trans.
Yeah, we're getting. I think we're getting a bit sidelined here. But Wick, I don't believe.
It doesn't make any sense when you say that you can't conflate the emotional and the physical. You do, and you justify
No,
it.
but we don't. You don't need to go to transgenders to prove that, right? We don't need to go to transgenders.
But it shows the hypocrisy in his logic, because he 100% justifies it when it's what his people completely approve of. He justifies it. He thinks it's completely
wait,
normal.
hold on, wait. Yes, he justified. I'm sorry, did I miss something? Did Wick justify violent responses to emotional pain? Did Wick ever
he's arguing against that. I'm trying to do that. Wait, Wick. Let's take the most extreme example, right? Let's say your mother's dead, right? She died in a horrific car accident. God forbid. Died in a horrific car accident. Let's say some psycho online got the pictures. Somehow they leaked, right? He prints them off, and you're grieving. He stands outside of your house every day when you come back from work, talking about, oh, look at your mum, look at her guts all splattered on the floor, her head, like the most horrific shit possible. Do you really think it is not justified for someone to walk up to that guy and give him a fucking punch in the mouth?
I don't.
You really think? Never.
I don't think it's justified. Yep. But you're not going to get me on this. So I'm pretty consistent about this.
They both are. They'll just tell you, I don't care.
No, Destiny actually. No, Destiny. I don't think Destiny agreed with that. I think Wick is more extreme on this than
probably
than Destiny.
But
I mean, like, I think that you can make argument. Like, I'm saying this out of like real, like, insane good faith, because we're talking about hyper edge cases here. I think that you can make arguments for like a very personal type of relentless harassment. Like, if somebody's standing outside and they're screaming at you every single day with a picture of your like dead child, like holding it up and screaming at you, and then you could probably. But I actually think that in the United States is probably illegal. Like, that would actually probably be considered harassment, because you're moving beyond just like normal speech at that point. But like, where we are many levels removed from just shitting on somebody's like choice of religion on Twitter at this point. But
yeah, no, so it's a matter of degree, right?
Let me ask you, 𝙎𝙬, right?
Yes.
Would you feel violence is justified if in that same scenario, instead of being outside my house every day, they simply posted a mean tweet about it? Do you think I should be justified to go to their house and beat them up for that?
No, I think there should be.
So
hold on.
Right?
No. Hold on. Yes, precisely. As I was going to say, there are levels, right? And we, as a society, I believe, can come together and we can agree. As you said before, like it's difficult to practically enforce any sort of like physical repercussions to something emotional because it's so hard to measure. Well, I think we as a society can come together and we can agree rationally that X thing, Y thing should have X or Y
I will
physical response.
You.
For example, that dude on Twitter, perhaps he should get a fine.
No. No, but you're in the minority. I will be your enemy in this. that is not okay to fine people for speech like that, or to give them any kind of judicial punishment. The proper response is social censure.
That's what they do in
Why?
England.
But why is it wrong? But he's intentionally causing harm. There is no motive. You can talk about, you can like quibble about, oh, maybe there's a reason why X, Y, Z. No, but if someone is intentionally and purely just wanting to cause you harm,
Being mean
just
on
wanting
Twitter?
to cause, being mean can fucking hurt. It hurts.
I
There is
understand.
no.
I understand.
We have
it can
online
hurt.
harassment for a reason.
I understand.
People commit suicide over that shit.
And it can be bad, right?
But when it's
Really
self-inflicted,
bad.
they don't care though. That's the problem.
But
Because it's something that you
Like-
do onto yourself, right?
So someone is doing something bad, but there are no repercussions for that person. There is no like
you say no
there is-
repercussions. I'm saying no legal repercussions. There's a difference between these statements. I think there should be repercussions. They should just not
Why?
involve the legal system, because that
Why-
will be
why-
weaponized. That will be weaponized by the state to a politician, and we see this in the SLAPP laws, anti-SLAPP laws, and things like that, where politicians will sue the fuck out of reporters because that person hurt my feelings. They caused me harm for reporting on that thing I did, and so now I'm going to sue them into the fucking ground.
Sure,
and,
they
and
can-
give them like legal ramifications for what they've done. This is
Sure,
why
people-
we have to keep speech away from the legal, like we, except for in extreme examples like threats to violence, immediate calls to violence, and things like that. I'm very against it. But we're moving away from the topic. We can still stay on this.
No,
if
I
you'd
think
like.
I think this is rather important actually, because it goes to the heart of the discussion, really. So if, for example, I'm an individual and I'm being harmed by someone's tweet or someone's words, why can't I appeal to the state to intervene and help me? Why isn't it? It's the state's
You don't have
responsibility
to
to
read that
protect.
person's tweet. You don't have to go around and seek out things in the world that offend you or upset you, and then ask the government to regulate those things. That's an insane position, in my opinion.
Why? If someone is out there intentionally trying to harm me, trying to do me harm, why isn't the state?
Because
Why
we
isn't it
have
not
a
the state's
greater
responsibility
value
to
on
help me?
people having the right to say the things that they want to say, even if some people might deem them offensive, more important than the right for somebody to avoid having hurt feelings. The reason why we have those same freedom of speech laws is the only reason why a religion like Islam can even exist in the United States, right? So I think that it's important to defend that principle of free and open speech, because we don't want people, I don't want Donald Trump telling me what I'm allowed to post on Twitter. You guys probably wouldn't want Biden or Obama or Hillary Clinton telling you what you're allowed to post on Twitter. I think that principle is probably worth protecting more than somebody's hurt feelings.
So what do we do then when we have two conflicting, fundamentally different positions philosophically? What do we do?
The intolerant
How do
one
we-
gets eliminated. That's what you do. You can't have people that exist in a liberal society saying that we can kill people for saying things that make us upset. That's fundamentally incompatible with a free and open society. You just can't have it.
Do you disagree, Prontos?
Of course I fucking disagree, because he's the one who decided who's the tolerant and who's the intolerant one. Because
That's
it
not
wasn't
true.
Muslim.
I'm not saying anybody here should be attacked for their things they say on Twitter. You're the one
You're
that are deciding
the
that.
you're the one who went out of his way to purposefully, mind you, purposefully antagonize a whole bunch of people. Yet you're
Good.
crying
I have
about the
that right to be
consequences.
antagonistic. That's my right as an American.
And
Some
by the
people would
way-
say that you being Muslim is antagonistic towards them in the United States, especially post 9/11. People
Last
feel
time
that
I
way.
checked, and last time I checked, you're not fucking 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙𝖘𝐍𝖔𝖜, but that is an incredible reach that you just did there. Because what you did and what somebody else who would just think my existence as a Muslim would be harmful to them are completely different. You purposefully went out there fully knowing that you want to antagonize people. If you're telling me that you just did it based off of humor, then tell me the humor in saying prepubescent be upon him.
Because it's fucking funny. It fits the what do you call the
So
four
it-
letters or whatever?
So and it's funny to you, it's
And
morally
it's funny
sound.
to a lot of other
And it
people too.
passes as
Apparently,
humor.
it does pass as humor. It's pretty funny.
People that
So what
share-
do we do
that share the
then?
same ideology.
What do we do when we have someone such as Destiny? Or you could replace it with, I don't know, someone insulting anyone's parents online en masse. Let's say he's insulting thousands of people en masse, causing harm en masse, and people don't have any avenue to, I don't know, address it. There's a
They
harm
do.
being done.
They
As
do have
Destiny,
an
but as
avenue.
Destiny,
What do you think the block button is? There's an avenue. Like, oh, you don't want to see what someone says? Block.
why should they have to?
Boom. What?
You know what's insane?
Why-
No, 1 second. No, wait. Before you guys go down this rabbit hole again, the fact that out of all people on planet fucking Earth, Destiny is the one who brings up pedophilia is fucking rich, by the way. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, I just want to stop there for a second. He's the same fucking man that knowingly platformed a fucking pedophile. And by the way, this is not according to me. This is according to him. What's his name? Max Carson, Mr. Girl. And you defended him day in and day out. But the moment that he came at your fucking ass, and the moment that he decided that he wants to fucking go through your life and reach out to every single person that you've known in the past fucking decade, that is when you suddenly decided to switch your tone on him and you decided to call him a fucking pedophile, a fucking rapist. But when you were friends, you defended him tooth and nail against every single accusation that was levied against him. So who the fuck makes you the arbiter of morality? Who the fuck makes you the person who knows right from wrong? Since when were you put in that position to tell somebody, no, you do not have the right to react in a way that I do not deem fit, when I purposefully go out of my way to disrespect something that you hold closer to your heart than anything else on this planet? How the fuck does that make any sense?
Are
I
we
do want to.
relitigating like every random
We're
thing
not.
that's ever happened in my life, or what?
No, because it has.
Also, I don't think I've called I've never called
not-
Max a pedophile. Also, to be fair, I'm pretty sure that movie Cuties, if you're referring to that, wasn't that made by a Muslim woman?
Again, by the way, it was made by the exact Muslim woman that you would consider an ally in the West, that you would consider tolerant and liberal. That is the exact same type of Muslim that made that movie. A French woman, by the way, L to the fucking French, right? But here's the thing. Let me just say this real quick. I do not bring it up out of the blue. I bring it up to just show the fact that you, not only in the past year or two, but in the past decade, and by the way, as a 35-year-old man, you cannot get away with the argument of this was in the past, I changed. As a 30-year-old man, as a 27-year-old man, and mind you, I'm 23, and if I said the same type of fucking shit that you said in the past, you and your fucking people wouldn't want to see me anywhere online.
What do you think I've said in the past is so beyond the fucking pale? What?
You've said that child porn is justifiable, morally justifiable, because it stops people. Your argument was that it stops people from offending.
Okay,
certain research shows the fact that
Karatas, you gotta let him to respond to each of these, so you can list them, but you gotta give him a response.
One conversation where I argued in favor of the age of consent, which I'm guessing you're probably opposed to, because it probably would cut off all of the marriages you approve of. In that conversation, we were having a discussion on whether or not there could be. Wait, what do you think the age of consent should be for marriage or consummation of marriage?
I believe the age of consent should be based off of whichever country that you're in.
Oh, okay. So what do you think
follow the law of the land?
What do you think the lower should
follow
be?
the law? Follow the law of the land.
So if the law of the land was 9 years old, would that be okay for you?
So you're telling me you're comfortable?
If the law of the land was 9 years old, would that be okay for you?
One second.
If the law of the land was 9 years old, would that be okay for you?
One single place, because I'm
if
not going to argue with
9 years old, would that be okay for you?
A hypothetical that you just made up wouldn't make any sense, because in this day and age,
if collectively, the law of the land was 9 years old, would that be okay for you?
So you want me to answer? So you want me to give you a yes or no because that's what you're capable of comprehending?
Yeah.
No, I would say that no, because collectively as a society we have come together and we have acknowledged the fact that that is not what we are going to do in this day and age, and trying to use the whole presentism fallacy and trying to apply today's outlook on age of consent to 1,400 years ago makes you look fucking retarded. But you know what? Forget what I have to say.
Then just to be clear, then you disavow like all forms of like child marriage and shit that might be happening in any other country
today,
right?
Today, absolutely, 100%. But let me ask you this real quick: what do you believe that? By the way, what a fucking retarded question! You fucking knew the answer to that. It's not like something.
I had no idea. I didn't know you were gonna come here and justify to me violence in exchange for tweeting funny pictures. I didn't know you were gonna do that today.
What sort of violence did I justify? I told you that if you talk shit, you deserve to get fucking banged. You deserve to fucking get one hit to the face. And I believe that applies to me and to anybody else that goes out of their way to be disrespectful in the name of humor.
Cool.
But
I never knew you were going to justify that, so I didn't know what your position on child marriage is.
Sure, but did I justify death threats? Because again, when you say violence, all of your fucking retarded fan base would confuse it with death threats that you've been receiving. Now, did I justify those, or did I say that?
You loud and clear. You said getting punched in the face. I didn't think you were going to justify that, and you did. So I'm just asking your other positions. I was just curious. You don't have to get
many surprises, I should say. Let me ask you this real quick. I'm not upset.
After one more question, then Uzmark.
One more question, and we could go to Uzmark. Absolutely. What do you believe that the age of consent should be?
I think like 16 to 18 is probably okay. It's where most countries have it set.
So 16, and that's based off what? Just based off what other countries have it set? Nothing else?
Seems to be like a generally okay age for when a person is developed enough to understand the ramifications of sexual behavior.
So you're telling me a 16-year-old is fully capable of raising a child and is fully aware of the consequences of having sex out of wedlock?
I think you're old enough to have a general awareness. Yeah.
Even though
Fully
you're
aware of all the consequences of everything. I mean, I don't even know if the average like
by the way,
22-year-old is aware of that.
yeah,
But
that's based off what, by the way, when you say they're generally aware, that's based off what? Is that your opinion, or is that any sort of research that has been peer reviewed or anything of that sort? Or is that just what you believe?
Are we asking for a source, Karantos? Are we going to do that?
I'm just curious because this man worships sources and peer-reviewed studies. So I just want to know what comes from his heart and what comes from what another man has told him. So
I
where
mean,
does
so
that
that's
come from?
generally like when a kid is like out of high school, when they're moving out on their own to go to college, when a person is generally, they've gone through puberty a little bit, they've had feelings and explore them with other teenagers or whatever. It's about that age. It seems like what most countries agree on right now. So I'd say about 16 to 18, yeah.
And by the way, and again, you could tell me, hey, this was when I was a young 29-year-old. I completely changed my mind. But you've previously said, listen, people mature at different ages.
They
People
do.
grow up at different ages. So
Mhm.
would you 100% be comfortable with a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old that is fully mature, that is equally as mature to a 17, 18-year-old in this day and age? Would you be comfortable with them
Theoretically,
being
you
in
could
a
probably
relationship?
find 25-year-olds that aren't that comfortable.
That's not answering my question.
You
Toronto,
could
you
probably
gotta-
find 14-year-olds that are comfortable enough. Yeah,
You
that's
gotta-
probably possible. But right now, we've got the law set in the United States at 18 years old because that's our hard cutoff.
I did not ask you. I did not ask you about the law. Destiny. Wait, don't let him get away with it, Rick.
Stop.
You're being a pussy.
Stop.
You're being a pussy.
You've gone down this road. We're not
He
getting
didn't
anywhere with
fucking
this
answer
road.
it. He didn't answer shit. I asked him. I didn't ask him what the law states. I asked him if there was a 13-year-old that is
said
mature
16
enough.
to 18, and he...
No, I asked him, and his explanation was because of maturity and such. And I asked him if there was a 13-year-old that exhibited those levels of maturity and understanding and was able to go out into the world on her own and do whatever that she needs to do. Would you be comfortable with her being married off to some 25-year-old and having a kid with him? I didn't ask about what the law states. I asked about his opinion. He didn't ask me about the law.
The problem is we don't have a way to determine that, right? We can't determine whether or not a person has reached that level of maturity because we don't have a sufficient battery of tests we can run somebody to figure it out. That's why we have the law set where it is. That's why the age of consent or the age of majority or signing contracts isn't done after taking a test. It's just kind of a blanket age. There are some people that probably can't consent to sex at 19, 20, or 21 or shouldn't be signing contracts, but that's just the rough age that we kind of settled as a society for being proper.
Thank you. No, thank you very much for saying that. So you're basically admitting to the fact that it is just set there as a collective decision by the most of the world, and it actually doesn't make any sense for it to be at 16.
I didn't say it didn't make any sense. I said that's about the age that kids are getting. Like, for instance, if we lived in a society
where
where
we can't test it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to fucking talk. If we lived in an age where at 12 years old, you were done with school and then you immediately go to a farm and you start farming and like raising families or whatever, I imagine the age of consent in that society probably would look a lot different than the age of consent today where you're in high school till you're 18, right?
Okay. I'm having to mute every time.
No. Okay. Thank you. So why wouldn't you take that level of consideration for societies 1,400 years ago when it comes to the Prophet?
Because I'm pretty sure the translation for the Prophet fucking Aisha was literally that she was a little girl that he played dolls with. The specific Arabic used to refer to her was that of like a small adolescent child, not just a mature person.
We can't use that one word.
And number two, that word is important. And number two, people today try to use that to justify child brides, which I think is really fucking funny.
Okay, stop. I want to let
this is
Mark respond.
this is
Mark.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing. I just want to say one thing to the prior conversation. Just one thing. You can't use one word, one phrase, one line from a hadith that she was playing with dolls to like somehow like indicate her moral like mental faculties. Like you get fucking 25-year-olds these days that play with dolls. Like it's a big thing. Like you know, the doll community is deeper than you might imagine actually. So yeah, you can't use that. That's just. There is far too little evidence for us to try and like ascertain her mental state. No.
I'm not just talking about the hadith that they're playing with dolls, but I'm pretty sure in Arabic the specific word used to refer to her was the word used to refer to like an adolescent child, not somebody like we would say, for instance, like I wouldn't say I married a little girl, I would say I married a woman. But that the Arabic used to refer to Aisha is the Arabic that you use to refer to little children. Not to an adult grown woman, not a mature woman.
I've never heard that, but I'll have to check that. I've never heard that. I've never heard that, to be honest. But
let me say this.
I'll inquire about that. No, but okay, go on. But then I want to say something.
No, Karatos has had his day. Karatos, stop.
No.
You can get to it after Uzmark. Uzmark's sitting here very patiently. He's been very respectful of the moderation team, so I'm going to give him a little extra time here. Go ahead, Uzmark.
No, to wrap up kind of what we were talking about when we were the fundamental differences in freedom of speech. How do I pronounce your name, by the way, mate? Koranotos?
Just
How
call
do
me
I?
Q. Like
Q,
QAnon,
okay.
my guy,
Yeah,
you
Q
know?
said a phrase that I found important. He said that Destiny and Wick, more so Wick to be honest, are acting as moral arbiters when it comes to this issue of violence in response to words, insults, however you
And
mocking.
morality. Yep.
Yeah, they're acting as moral arbiters, right? And we're at a fundamental impasse. There's no, if Destiny or Wick say, no, it is fundamentally wrong to ever respond violently to a word, a phrase, or an insult, and another person say, oh, no, it is okay, there's nothing we can do, right? There's no, nothing we can really appeal to if it's a fundamental core belief. So I think it's important to point out, right, that the majority of people globally, worldwide, are not on Wick and Destiny's side, right? The majority, they are in the minority here. They are in the minority. It's the extreme view, and so I think it's, as I said, chauvinistic, and it is insular in a way to kind of.
Complex right there.
It is a superiority complex. It really is. There is no way to adjudicate whether one is wrong or right, other than appeals to majority. I believe when it comes to, like, if you're a moral anti-realist, if there is no fundamental basis to your
most of my beliefs are better than the beliefs I do not hold. That's why I hold those beliefs. I hold those beliefs because I think they are better than the beliefs I have rejected. Yes, I mean that's
majority
the
of
same
people
with you,
think
the same
the
with
majority.
everyone else.
No, fundamentally different. No,
you hold beliefs that you do not think are better than other beliefs. That you do
I
not
hold, like, that's why I'm a divine command theorist, because I don't have to wade through all this moral anti-realism. I hold beliefs because I believe morality comes from God. I think that's the only way to adjudicate these fundamental differences in philosophy. Other than that, I believe the only way you can adjudicate them is through appeals to majority. And the majority of people believe that responding physically, whether that be through personal, like physical acts, or through the state apparatus, is valid and is justified. So given that, like, all I have to say is that the majority of people disagree with you. And I would, to Destiny's tweets about the violence, the majority of people, when you categorize people as violent in responding to words, majority of people disagree with you. Majority of people wouldn't categorize people as violent in responding to words, pictures, or phrases.
Especially when no violence has been committed whatsoever. Clearly, the man is still healthy and alive. I mean, healthy to a certain degree.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was my main that was my main issues with Destiny's tweets, was his characterizations of Muslims as fragile and his Muslims as violent. And I think, as we've discussed here, like, I think Destiny acquiesced pretty quickly that given that Muslims aren't necessarily being fragile.
No, I would say they're fragile. I didn't acquiesce to that. I countered that argument saying that by your definition, literally nobody would be considered fragile. But I reject that, obviously, because I think some people are fragile. And I would say that wanting to attack somebody for attacking your religion makes you fragile, in my definition, in my world.
In Destiny's world.
And in America.
As
peace be upon it.
But as everywhere else in the world, globally, the majority
child marriages in America. How about that?
In America, sure, but worldwide,
the land of seculars and liberals.
Yeah, worldwide, Destiny is in the minority opinion. Worldwide, yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we can sum up to say is Destiny is a fringe. Destiny is the extremist here.
It's okay. Just because you're an extremist doesn't mean you're wrong, though, right? Like
I'm in like the most powerful nation.
Yeah. Yes. I think if you're a moral anti-realist, if you're in the minority, you are wrong.
Wow.
I think I guess it would come into
I think what people held the biggest problems with was not the fact that he posted the cartoon or the Minecraft thing about the Kaaba. It's about what he said about the Prophet. And I've addressed it clearly here, and he has no fucking argument against it, of course, unless he has an argument that I did not hear, by the way. Wait, let me just get this out real quick, right? The fact that Al-Quraysh, which was the pagan majority in Saudi Arabia during the time of the Prophet, did not give him any hard time or any flag. By the way, these are the same people that wanted to kill the Prophet. These were the same people that went out of their way to disprove Islam. They tried their best to, and would attack the Prophet at any chance they get. They themselves never took a single jab at the Prophet for his marriage to 𝕎𝙪𝙗𝙧 𝕎𝙪𝙗𝙧, right? And that is because back then in that society, what the Prophet did was completely 100% within the norm. And Destiny himself said, hey, within certain societies today, there may be people that are mature enough based off of how their society is, that they could be able to marry and have kids based obviously when they hit puberty. But let's say even if that were to be 13 years old, that would make sense for them.
So you think there are
If you
some
say 15
9-year-olds that you could marry and have sex with today? There are some
but no,
6-year-olds?
you're the one who made that
Well, I'm just
argument, by the
curious.
way.
What do you think? Do you think there are 6-year-olds that you can marry today? They're mature enough for that?
Wait, you're telling me, okay, you're telling me there are 6-year-olds right now that
Well,
go
I'm
out
asking
into the
you, are
world.
there?
They don't exist.
Oh, okay.
But you're the one who said that there could be 13-year-old that go
Okay,
out there.
we're
13-year-olds
circling the
that
drain on
grow
this.
up
We're circling the drain on this one. Is there any other critiques that you had other than his characterization of Muhammad or as of the tweet about fragility or violence? Is there anything else that you had a problem with that Destiny has said or done that you would like a chance to talk to him about? Because now is your chance.
I would think it's important to understand the context of Islamophobia when we're talking about this.
Go ahead.
As I said, it's an issue that frames this whole discussion. I think it's not insignificant. If you look at the studies, the stats, the reports, it's somewhat in the US, I would say, comparable to anti-black racism. In the US, Islam is second most only to Jewish people in terms of hate crimes. In the UK, it's skyrocketed recently. And it's important when people are making, like Destiny has, claims such as I know he didn't say Muslims specifically when he made that tweet, you are violent if you respond to X, Y, or Z. But when we look at the context of the tweets, it's easy or very easy to misinterpret what he's saying. And that is contributing to this. It's a dangerous thing, Islamophobia. It is causing harm to a significant amount of people. And if you care about racism, you should also care about the Islamophobia that Destiny could be contributing to.
I agree. I think it's bad. I don't think it's good. Do you also condemn the fact that a lot of the violence it's caused in countries like Sweden are done by Muslim majority immigrants?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a problem too.
What is the relation? Can you explain?
I was just curious you were consistent on the issue. I don't condemn violence against Muslims. It seems like a lot of them are supporting violence. Or I'm sorry, I don't support violence against Muslims. It seems like a lot of them are supporting violence against me online. I don't support people that are attacking Muslim people. That's why I haven't attacked Muslim people. But in the United States,
but can you understand what you're?
I don't care. I don't care if there are some people that are going to get hatred because I'm attacking a religion. That's on the people doing it. In the United States, we don't use some people commit violence as an excuse to condemn certain types of speech. That's not what we do in the United States. Maybe in other countries in the world, we might be in a minority on that, but I think it's a beautiful thing in the United States.
You used to talk quite extensively about responsible use of your platform. Like, I don't want to get all soy and be all like, because I've seen people do it to you before and it's cringe. But you did used to talk about responsible use of your platform.
Yeah.
And just personally, from what I've seen on your subreddit, it seems like these tweets and the discourse that you've made, it seems like if you just scratch the surface a little bit, the vitriol and vileness against Muslims comes out. There has been some wild shit said in your Twitter replies, and to some extent in your subreddit. And I think I agree
with you there, but I think that comes from Muslims. I think it's their fault.
I don't. Like, for example, no, wait.
Super easily. I've never made fun of any other community and gotten that type of blowback before. So I imagine there probably is a lot of Islamophobia, and that sucks. And I wish there wasn't. But I think that's because of the fact that there are thousands of them in my replies and in my DMs that are saying they want to kill me and my family and rape my wife. So I mean, like, it's hard for me to be sympathetic there. Yeah.
But no. But if let's take this hypothetical, right? If you had, I don't know how many Muslims had seen your tweets, but if you had messaged or made posts about, I don't know, 2,000 black people, right, mocking their parents or their father or their mother, as you have done the Prophet, right, and then collated their responses, I'm sure you would have got some. Like, I'm sure if you'd have messaged...
Do you understand the difference between black people versus a religion? If I was making fun of... If I had tweeted out, fuck Arabs, then I could understand that would be irresponsible. But I'm tweeting out making fun of a religion, right? I don't have to...
I don't understand... No, but I don't understand the fundamental difference there.
The fundamental difference is that, like, you can't use a system of belief to attack other people with violence, and it's fundamentally different than attacking a people versus, like, a group of people that believe in a religion. There's a difference between attacking an idea versus an actual person. Yes.
No, so if you'd have said, right, like, if you'd made those posts about black people, about black mothers and fathers, and then a load of black people had in your responses being like, oh, hey, look at this, like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, or whatever the fucking shit people said, right? And then said, hey, whoa, look at how sensitive and how fragile black people are, look at how blah blah blah, I don't know, whatever tweets you said, substitute Muslims in for black people, how like I lost my train of thought. But how can how are they not analogous here?
Because an immutable characteristic like your race is something that you're born into, and I don't typically condemn people for those traits. A religion is a series of beliefs that you choose to adhere to, and I will make fun of people for that. It's stupid to not eat pork. Pork is awesome. And it's stupid to condemn people on LGBT issues or to worship people in the sky. I think that's dumb.
Yeah,
So
but
saying
you
that I
could
would
say-
deride Christians,
let him finish.
Muslims, Jewish people for all of their fucking beliefs, which I do and which I have. I'll continue to do the same for people that are Muslim as well. I don't think I'm not going to attack the people, but you should have the right to attack the religious beliefs. Much the same that if you want to say I'm some godless heathen cuck like this fucking guy did, and I'm going to go to hell with my wife being fucked by black dicks all the way down to hell, that's fine. You have the right to say that as well. Knock yourselves out. But like in the United States of America, I have a right to say that, and I shouldn't be met with violence for it. Same as you can make fun of me without me being violent against you for it.
No, but yeah, I think you're fundamentally misunderstanding like the Islamic faith here. Muslims love the Prophet as they do a parent, exactly the same. It's not just a belief.
Yeah,
like
that's fine, but
like
I would
a
call
part
that
of theology.
That's mental illness to me. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah,
how
but
I'm
I
sorry.
know. No, hold on. That's not necessarily fair. Like, if would it be fair then for an orphan, let's say, to when he mocks someone's parents, for them to be outraged and decry it? Would it be them being like, oh, that's ridiculous. That's mental illness. If for them to be reacting
Muhammad
with
is
the
he's not your dad. Okay.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter though.
It's kind of
If
important. Yeah,
someone
it's a
no,
fundamentally
it
different
doesn't.
thing.
Why? If someone
Then
loves
why
something,
there's a difference between somebody loving something that they can't even point to existing versus the love somebody may have for their parents that gave
Why?
birth to them. These are two
why?
fundamentally
Where's the?
different things.
Can someone not love? Like, where is the fundamental difference there? The only issue is the love and the strength and the intensity of that love. If
Somebody
someone
could have
loves,
an intense love or respect for Harry Potter, but if I shit on Dumbledore, that doesn't mean they have a right to attack me in the street over it.
I think if someone genuinely, I mean, like, no, I'm not like, I know it's a meme example. If someone genuinely loved fucking Dumbledore, right, as much as they love their parents, then yeah, I think it would be wrong to attack Dumbledore or to insult him intentionally and explicitly in front of them.
Okay, and I don't think that should be met with violence.
Oh, sure, yeah, that's your personal opinion. The majority of the people seem to disagree with you.
That's great. I'm glad.
Worldwide,
I've got my walls
globally.
up. I'm glad I've got the Atlantic and the Pacific blocking me from all the crazies from other places. So fucking amen to
Okay.
my country, I guess.
Okay. Fair enough. I think we've kind of we've run the gamut on this. Krantos, anything else before we kind of wind this down?
Last time I checked, Destiny is not fucking 3 years old. I don't know why the fuck you spent half your time fucking trying to defend him and tell him, please let him get a word in. Like, I could have spoke for himself half the time. Also, the man himself was fucking cutting me off, but it is what it is. The man himself said he would be comfortable with.
Do you not
having
think you've gotten a
13-year-old
good
married
amount of
off.
speaking time, Krantos?
I-
Do you need
I
more?
have. No, I have. I'll be fair to you. I have. Right? But I will say this much. The man himself just said, dependent on your environment, you could be a mature 13-year-old that's ready for marriage. So he's acknowledged that the way that the world has it set up right now is based off of majority. There isn't some sort of fucking test or scientific fucking method that was applied to the reason why we have 16 or 18 as the age of majority. So to that point, he completely conceded. Of course, if he believes otherwise, that's his right. Second of all, he believes that what he's doing is disrespectful, is harmful to certain people, and he does not give a fuck whatsoever. Because he says, my freedom of speech trumps anything that you believe or care about or hold dear. And as long as I live in the United States of America, I'll disrespect and I'll do whatever I want to any of you guys, and I'm free to do so. And to that, there can be no other argument but do you. So
Okay,
gonna
well,
argue
this
with
has been wonderful. Thank you both for being willing to come out. Yeah, it's been a thing. I would have liked to have more on here, but like I said, it was very hard to get Muslims who would follow TOS or agree to come on. And we've done the best we could. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for coming today. We are kind of just going to close it out, I think, at this point. Closing statements from Destiny. We'll start with Destiny and we'll go our way around. So, Destiny, final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think a cornerstone of liberal democracy is that we're allowed to say things in society that might make people really mad. And as soon as we start justifying violent responses to things that really upset us, we fundamentally destroy the fabric that makes our society work. The only reason the United States has survived this far, the only reason why Muslims are even allowed in the United States, is because we hold ourselves to a very high standard when it comes to tolerating other people's hate speech, and that we will not respond with violence. That is a principle that I hold very dear to myself. I would hope that everybody in the United States would hold dear to it. And if you don't, I don't think you have a place in this country, and I wish you would leave.
Fair enough. Uzmark, final thoughts.
Yeah,
And
so
where
I
can
wish we
people
would have.
find you, Uzmark? Just make sure to just shout
Yeah,
that
yeah,
out
yeah,
for
sure.
people.
Yeah, so I wish we would have talked a little bit more about the fragility argument. I think it had more merit than Destiny gave, and if we could explore it more, that would be fun. If anyone else wants to, we can. As Q said, I think we've just come to a fundamental impasse, and I have to reiterate that Destiny and Wick are both here in the minority of opinion globally, worldwide. Most people disagree with them, and so therefore, I think if someone wants to react with violence to words, I don't think they should be disparaged and to be looked at as savages, as Destiny said, or as uncivilized, because most of civilization actually agree with them. I would also like to say that, yeah, Destiny's simply saying that, yeah, he's been a dick online to Muslims, and okay, fair enough. He's been a dick, whatever. Online, you can find me at YouTube. I'm trying to make some YouTube videos right now. The time difference here is crazy. So yeah, you can find me at YouTube. I try to be as good faith and honest as possible. I bite bullets if honesty forces me to. That's it.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for reaching out. This was an interesting discussion.
I would like to also apologize, Wick. I completely lost track of the time.
It is what is. It's over it. I don't hold grudges. But thank you for being here. And we'll have you on again. Kratos, please. Final thoughts, and where can people find you?
Yeah, final thoughts. Destiny holds up liberalism as the greatest way of life, and any opposing thought is completely false. And Islam and liberalism do not mesh, they do not mix. For a liberal society to thrive, Islam would damn near need to be either completely changed to the point where it's not Islam anymore, or it would need to just completely be eradicated. He's also ignoring the fact that Islamic societies are incredibly fair and good to women. In fact, the safest country on planet Earth for women is Qatar. And you could see that from the World Cup experience that women, Western women, had in Qatar, where they said that they've never felt safer. So when he tries to label Islam as a religion that is unfair or oppressive towards women, I completely and fundamentally disagree with each and every single point when he says that, because it's false. It's not real. It's based in fantasy. And it's also, funny enough, it's based on what a lot of Islamophobes say to try to characterize Islam as a religion that is oppressive to women, when it's not. Islam came at a time where women were oppressed and it freed them. And I believe at the end of the day, I do agree with him. He has the right to say whatever the fuck he wants, especially in the United States of America, where his freedom of speech is a constitutionally defended right. But I also do believe that he's also free to face the consequences. And if they come in the form of a fucking punch, smack, kick, I don't see a problem with it. If it goes further than that and people want to kill him, I completely denounce that. And I think that that is completely abhorrent and wrong.
What
That's
about
about
2
it.
punches? Is 2 punches okay?
No, listen. As
3?
long as the hair turns brown, I think he gets away with no punches. Because the
Oh
fucking
yeah, and
eye
Destiny.
seeped into his brain. That's factual.
Destiny,
100%.
you can come to Dubai as a blue head, they, them. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. You're not going to get
Nothing.
thrown off a building. Nothing. There are loads of transgender people here. Gay people, nothing happens.
Wow,
Yep.
guys.
Oh, by the
Fair
way,
enough.
you can find me on Karantos on Kick. Oh, by the way, that's Qorantos. To those that are illiterate, I'm sure there is many in Destiny's chat. Kranos on Kick, YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok.
Okay. Thank you all for being here.
Wait, just curious for you too. What religion do you guys say that they follow in Iran and Syria? Do you say they're Muslim as well, or do you have a
Yeah,
different name for it?
Muslim.
Okay. Just curious.
There is it's a deep discussion, but yeah, you would say that as a Sunni Muslim, they are Muslims. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for being here. Just my closing thoughts on all this. Yeah, freedom of speech is important. I don't care if it's a minority opinion. I don't care if I'm the only person who believes it. That's still the best way forward.
Freedom of speech has one fan. I am the one fan. I'm just kidding.
Unironically, I think that it is dangerous to allow speech, but it is more dangerous to be overly censorious. And that's where we are. Speaking of speech, gang, we got a great show coming up for you this week. I'm off break, so we're back at it tomorrow. We got Katie versus 𝙎𝙬 on whether gender is a biological reality or not. Wednesday, we're going to have a few people on to talk about whether it's okay to mock the dead, which is kind of what we touched on here. Is it okay to mock Andrew Tate for getting cancer if he in fact gets cancer? Would that be morally justifiable or okay to do? Thursday, we're going to have Kelly Jean, Pixie, not Eli Monty, and they're going to be facing down Erudite, Mind Waves, and Irrelevant on setting boundaries and what that looks like or what that should look like. Women saying no, things like that. And then Friday, we're going to have a guest cast to talk about whether or not being pro-sex work is pro-rape. We'll find out. Tune in. YouTube. .com/@WhickTV or twitch.tv/WhickTV, no underscores, dashes, or spaces. Thank you again for coming, all of you. Really appreciate you. And